Hello everyone and welcome along to TGP2. It's season 21. We're nearing the end of the season, and if you thought things were going to get any easier for the drivers and the teams, you thought wrong. We're in the stunning city of Singapore and we're here and live for round one for tonight, and for what has been a very exciting season where we see more twists and turns in the night's gem that is the street circuit here at Singapore. So the championship on both drivers and constructors is well poised, and if you thought that things were going to get a little bit easier for a few of the drivers, maybe thought one or two were going to start running away with it, you were very much wrong. A surprise championship leader, you have to say, is CJ, who leads the championship by 16 points from the early favourite Luca, who after missing last week has fallen back a little bit. So after 14 rounds, CJ with a healthy advantage, but Luca back tonight, and we'll see what he can pull out at the stops. Erlang just 11 points behind Luca there. Barry, after a good win for him last time out in Italy, crucial win for him to keep his championship hopes alive. And then Dom Smith and Joe Sayre falling in just behind to make up the top six. The top six covered by less than 70 points. Actually less than 60 points even. God, just make it even closer there. So good battles to watch out throughout the field. And the constructors as well, things don't get much easier. Renault on top, 297 points, with Sauber in second on 285. So we touched briefly on last week. Let's go back and revisit briefly. So CJ Beach, we had a very, very good week last week, giving him the head of the championship, and meant that he now can put himself in a good position for the last few rounds of the season to make sure, it's in his own hands now, and he's got to be mindful of Luca behind him. And then in race number 2, it was so nearly a dream scenario for Dan's car. Would have got his first win, but binned it in Ascari with about 4 or 5 laps to go, and found himself, it would have brought home a Mercedes 1-2, but so it was his Mercedes teammate Bazza who came home the winner. So with just over 2 minutes to go, let's give you a little rundown of the provisional order. It's that man CJ Beach, our championship leader, who sits provisional at pole at the moment, but not by a huge amount, 25 hundredths back to his championship rival Luca Chiapelli to keep things nice and interesting for us watching at home. Joe Sayre, provisionally third at the moment. Marco F1 Freak was the early pace setter, but lies fourth. He won't be taking further part in the session. He's pulled over to the side. Dormac, good qualifying from him so far, P5. Dom Smith in 6th. Dan's car, who we mentioned, in 7th. Erlang, who had a qualifying ban back in Belgium, at the moment is in 8th. Bazza in 9th. And Michael Kenny rounding out the top 10. So I'm joined here tonight by our very own Owen Quimby. Hello, Owen. What can you expect to see from the racing tonight?
Well, it's looking very interesting in qualifying at the moment. About 5 temps covering the top 5. Very decent showing. Marco F1 Freak, you said he pulled over the side. I just caught it at the start of the stream. He actually crashed into the inside wall, going into the old Singapore sling and binned it. So that's what happened to Marco there. But yeah, it could be a very exciting race. Chiapelli looking to make back some ground after missing back last week, cut into CJ's lead, and what can the other title contenders do? That is the question.
That is the question, which hopefully we'll get a few answers to. Now, we mentioned some incidents. We lost Jack Craig very early on, and Con Rees as well. Con showed some good pace on and off this season, so he's going to be starting right from the back. We've got a few drivers a little bit off the pace at the moment in Chris Johnson and Red Bull Kim. Not really a surprise for Red Bull Kim, but Chris Johnson, a bit of a surprise to see him struggling so much at the moment.
Yeah, it is a bit of a surprise to see Chris Johnson struggling at the moment. He is out on circuit currently. I think he's on a flyer, so he's going to try and improve. Yeah, going to try and improve, jump up with Red Bull Kim, but he's a long way back at the moment. He has some serious time to find in this session to get anywhere in contention.
Very much so. So pressure on the number 93, Chris Johnson there. And so it's going to be very crucial to see what he can do. Just getting a little bit of history for you for Singapore then. So no one here has won it more than 2 times, and Chris Johnson is one of those people to have won it twice, so he definitely knows his way around here. So he's going to have to pull something out. Admittedly, I don't think he's won it around here in a McLaren before, but the Papaya McLaren is going to have to make himself as quick as possible around most of the corners. He seems to be struggling a lot from understeer at the moment, I have to say.
Yeah. While you were talking about Chris Johnson, Dom Smith has popped up in pole position with 36.728.
Blimey. Unseen by me. Chris Johnson's going to go P10, so not much for him. He's one of the first ones to cross the line. Joe Sayer, interestingly, has already taken the checkered flag, so he's going to be no better than 4th. Where is CJ? Is he on a lap? And is he
is on the lap.
He's just... Where is he on track?
He's middle of the final sector.
Yes, he is. So he's about to come under the stadium section, getting very close to the wall there. The Renault driver is going to need to make up some time. Only about a 10th of a second to take pole position. Through this tricky left-right chicane underneath the motorway. CJ Beach then to the last 2 corners. Is he going to beat Dom Smith for pole? Yes, he does. A fantastic lap from CJ Beach, a 36.3. That's a home run and a half. And that is some serious indication to the rest of the field of just what he can do and how much form he's finding at the moment. The Renault driver comfortably at the moment on pole position. Dom Smith could technically get another lap in, but he is cruising back to the pits. As we said, Joe Sayer taking the checkered flag. Luca's in the pit, so he's not going to improve on 3rd. He's been out-qualified by his teammate. That's not something we've said too often this season.
Yeah,
and
I think
everyone else has finished with Dormat in the pits as well, and Red Bull Kim in the pits. I imagine he wouldn't have gone pole anyway. That gives us our qualifying order then. So he had to deliver. He delivered last week, and at the moment, CJ Beach, maybe we should call him the postman, because at the moment he's turning up with no late deliveries.
Yeah, very much so. Turning up the wick right at the end of the session, gaining 4 tenths on Dom, 5 tenths on his previous lap, and smashing it and putting it on pole.
Yeah, that is a seriously good lap from CJ there, and I'm sure himself and the mechanics will be very pleased. Also good for Renault as well, and critically for the constructors. Look at that, the top 2 teams occupying the top 4 positions on the grid, so that's just what we want to see for a nice juicy constructors battle. And obviously in the mix as well there, the 2 main drivers going head to head for the Drivers' Championship. So we're just going to get the confirmed grid order with us in just a mo. It's just loading up. Any second now. There we go. So, CJ Beach, the postman, on pole position. Dom Smith lining up on the front row alongside him. Mr. Chiapelli, one other title hopeful, lines up in P3 directly behind his main rival. Joe Sayer, P4. Dormat in 5th. Good qualifying there from Dormat in the Ferrari. Marco in 6th. Bazza 7th. 2 Mercedes occupying row 4, Bazza and Danscar. Erlang down in 9th. Disastrous qualifying for him. And Chris Johnson running out the top 10 with Michael Kenny, Mr. John, AFCB James, and down at the bottom of the people who took part in qualifying and set a lap time is Red Bull Kim. So, I wonder what this race is about. We had a little look at the weather forecast. Well, I say we had a look. We got someone to have a look for us.
Yeah, we got it from our Sauber data
centre. The end of the race. Now, occasionally I might ask Owen to just go and stand outside the commentary box just to test the water.
Yeah.
The air. But Owen, what are you expecting to see from this Singapore Grand Prix?
Could be a very exciting race. Quite close on. Well, it was quite close until CJ banged in that perfect lap, 36.3. Only actually 3 tenths off the real life pole time by Lewis Hamilton this year. So very quick lap indeed around this 3.1 mile circuit. 15 laps around Singapore in under the lights. Let's see how we get on, Mike.
With a threat of rain. That's exactly what we like to hear. So the drivers just finalising their preparations then for the race, and we're all just excited. The cars are lined up. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in Singapore. And it's lights out, and away we go, and it's a good start for CJ. Dom Smith had not a bad one as well. There's a bit of argy-bargy further down in the race, but go into turn 1 then, the side will stay line astern. They get very close to contact as Dom Smith actually has to jump out the way of his teammate. We've got some contact further back with a Ferrari. We've got pushed wide of Dormat there. Baz has made up a few positions as well, and Joe's trying to get in the mix of the 2 Saubers, and there's contact between the 3 of them. And are they still facing the right way? Somehow, just about, and it's actually Dom Smith that's come out best from it.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I was a little bit squeamish there. I was thinking, you're mad going up the inside and the outside. Well, whatever you want to call it. He went straight down the middle, caused a bit of chaos. Chiapelli having a little bit of a slide there, coming out of that corner. And now Joe is under attack from Marco, who crashed out in qualifying.
Yeah, the Toro Rosso driver is giving the Renault driver a little bit of hard work, but CJ's already got a 1.6 second lead out the front, and coming down to the Singapore Sling then, the Toro Rosso and the Renault side by side. Joe's not going to give an inch, and they both run wide. That could give an opportunity to Dormat, who has to dive up the inside, who's actually taken himself out of the race. He clipped the back of Marco there, and Joe, during all of that, has somehow went on to fourth, but disaster for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, not what he wanted from this race. Had a decent qualifying up in P5. And he's just ended up in the wall, end of the race, and that's not really what you want to do at Singapore. It could be a race of attrition, especially with the rain coming, Mike.
Yeah, very much so. It's a race that you've got to be in to win, and particularly around here, you've got to keep your cool. As you said, it's a long lap round here. It's only 3.1 miles, but it is a sort of long lap, and especially on lap one, cars full of fuel. And Marco's actually got a little bit squirrely and clipped the wall there and lost some of his front wing. And we know from seeing TGP1 last night that keeping your front wing intact is very crucial, as we got the two Saubers battling it out, who are already 2.2 off of CJ, and Luca has now got ahead of Dom, interestingly.
Yeah,
they have swapped.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's team orders or not from Sauber, but in either way, Chiapelli's in better title contention, and he missed last week, so maybe that's what they did there at Sauber.
Maybe so. You'd have to say if they did a little bit early to do so. You're not quite sure what's going to happen during the race, but fair enough for them for trying it. We've got Mercedes running quite close to the wall further back. That was the Mercedes of Baza, and I don't think he's sustained any damage from it, but he's now got Erlang to worry about and his teammate. Is Erlang going to send one up the inside down the main straight? He is. Erlang on the harder tyres, and now Baza's under pressure from his teammate. Coming down into this tricky, tight right-hander. Baza is struggling a little bit on the power, but he has lost only one place so far, but again running wide and clipping the wall. Maybe he did pick up some damage on his front wing there, but the two Mercedes getting quite racy. Yeah,
definitely, very much so. I can see it brewing a little bit on the timing sheets, and I went to switch to it, and yeah, they're kicking off. Erland snuck past Baza, and now the two Mercedes are battling. Chris Johnson just sitting behind waiting for something to happen. And there's a yellow flag in Sector 1.
There is a yellow flag further back. I don't know what's happened to Mr. John. Con Reese has left, but Mr. John's down in 13th at the moment, so not a good opening couple of laps for the Red Bull driver. But looking through the field at the moment, and yes, I can confirm that Baza does have front wing damage, and I think Red Bull Kim has gone straight on at the end of the main straight there, taking his fellow countryman Kevin Magnussen's legacy of all or nothing a little bit into close combat there, as CJ had set the fastest lap and then was very quickly taken away by Chiapelli, who I have to say is eaten into his lead by half a second in that lap, and has already taken off a big chunk in the first couple of corners. So Chiapelli's flying at the moment.
Yeah, he is indeed. And I've just noticed that Joe's starting to claw up on the back of Dom Smith as well. Maybe he might have a look down this DRS straight. If he doesn't, he clipped the wall there, but he should be okay.
Well, let's see. And then down the main straight, DRS, as we saw, has been enabled. Joe Say and Dom Smith, the two very much veterans of TGP, and both doing their teammates good justice at the moment, running third and fourth. As Marco F1 Freak, as something's happened to him, as he's just dropped down to 8th.
Well, I just caught that. Erland went up the inside, got past him, and then he just got swamped by the two Mercs as well. Not a bit of disaster. Marco stuck on the outside, and the two Mercs just snuck up the inside at the following corner as well.
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you, sorry Owen, because we've got Dom Smith on the defensive from Joe Sayre. We've got the two Mercedes running very close further back, but Joe Sayre with a fantastic exit over the Anderson Bridge. And has he done Dom Smith already coming down towards the end of Sector 2? He's going to try and send one down the outside. Dom Smith all over the curb, and Joe Sayre has got the move done and into P3.
Yeah, just what the Renault boys needed. 1 and 3 now in this race. CJ leading, Chiapelli second. Sure, what point do these guys, Joe and Dom, be rear gunners for their teammates this season? It might soon get to that point, because at the moment it's looking like CJ and Chiapelli are going to be the main title contenders. It
definitely looks that way, with Erlang not really on colour down in fifth
at the moment. CJ's pitted, by the way.
CJ has pitted. That's quite early. End of lap 3.
Well, Phil did it yesterday and he won the race in TGP1 by doing this strategy, so who knows, it might work out for the better for him.
it might work out. Obviously, there was a little bit of incident with the other two leaders at the time with pit entry and exit, but CJ making a bold call then to pit a little bit earlier, throw on the Ultrasoft tyres, and now I think it might. I mean, we saw Luca closing in quite heavily each lap, so maybe he was really starting to struggle on the tyres. But either way, it's CJ's blink first, and now it's all down to Chiapelli. And can he put in that monster in lap that we know he's capable of to take the lead away? Also looking for that. Bazza has pitted to change that front wing. Marco F1 Freaks now dropped behind Chris Johnson as well, but it's only half a second off of him. So a little battle going on there. Actually, Bazza pitting has released Dan's car a little bit, and in fairness, they are starting to close in on the battle between Dom and Joe. So if we were saying that these two are going to be working as rear gunners, they've got to get on with it a little bit, or have to slow down a little bit more, you must say, Owen.
Yeah, definitely. Erland's just been nipping away at the last couple of laps at the lead that Joe and Dom have had over him, and he's closing in. He might be bringing a bit of train. Damsgaard's definitely coming with him. Maybe Chris Johnson can try and tag along. He's 3.5 back at the moment, but if they get stuck behind Dom and Joe, then suddenly they're right in it.
Very much so. Now, let's turn our attention back to Chiapelli as he's drifting through the final sector. Are we going to see him dart into the pits? He's really struggling on those tyres and nearly spins it coming underneath the motorway, and does decide that maybe now is the best time to pit. And I can't say, looking at that previous image, that I particularly blame him.
No, definitely not. Looked like the rear tyres have basically gone for him, and he's had to struggle. It's forced his teammate Dom to stay out a little bit longer, and Joe's come in as well.
And I have to say, actually, CJ's in a bit of traffic at the moment behind Michael Kenny without a front wing. So could that be enough? Chiapelli obviously at the end of the pit lane. Could that have been enough to give Chiapelli the lead? Joe's also pitted. I'm not sure if he mentioned that.
It's going to be touch and go. It's going to be very much touch and go. CJ's coming around the first corner.
Chiapelli's
there.
And he just about has lost out, but the gap is definitely closer.
Yeah, definitely a smaller gap this time round.
That traffic definitely cost CJ.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Erland has overtaken Dom Smith, by the way, and that is now him in the net lead for the time being.
Yeah, unseen by us. Erlang does move ahead of Dom Smith, and obviously Joe pitting that lap as well. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, Chiapelli pitting a lap later, delayed Dom's stop. CJ pitting that lap earlier than Chiapelli has meant that Joe could pit the same lap, but we definitely have a race on for the net lead of the race. Chiapelli versus CJ, 1 and 2 in the championship, and at the moment running a net 1 and 2 in the race.
Yeah, definitely so. We've got Dansgaard battling Dom Smith on his Ultrasofts, we may add, so he's definitely going to go long in this race. Dom's probably going to pit this time round, as he had to wait for his teammate to get first call as he was ahead on the circuit, Mike.
Yeah, Dom really struggling on those Hypersofts now, and the two Ultrasoft running drivers are definitely much carving their way through. Dom's already peeling off left. He knows he's coming into the pits and does so. So your current leaders of the race, Erlang, Danskar, Chris Johnson, all on the main straight at the moment, as you can see, all starting on those harder tyres, could really give them an advantage looking towards the end of the race when they're putting on the Hypersofts, and maybe we could see at least one of these drivers on the podium as CJ sets the fastest lap of the race, a 140.4 on the Ultrasoft tyres. So we'll have to see how that battle continues, as Dom Smith has come out behind Joe, and I think quite considerably behind Joe as well. There's quite a gap now between those two, and Dom has a bit of trouble with the pit lane exit there, but we won't pick him up too much on that one. So they feel quite nicely spread out at the moment, which is a little bit of a waiting game now. As we said, the top three running that slightly different strategy. We're going to have to see how they play out with the rest of the field. Interestingly, CJ has brought a bit of a gap to Chiapelli, more than it was when they stopped anyway. So maybe that does suggest that CJ really was struggling on his tyres.
Yeah, CJ started pulling out the gap again once they stopped. It was about a second once Chiapelli came out of the pits, and it's grown to about 1.7 now. So definitely gaining, and let's see how they get on. Joe and Dom have lost a lot of time. Like, Joe's about 3.5 seconds behind, and Dom, because he had to stay out the extra lap and 2 extra laps on CJ, is now 5.5 seconds back from Joe.
Yeah, that's a big loss that for Dom, and he's going to have to be watching his mirrors, I think, as well at some point for Bazza just behind. Obviously, last time out race winner. But I think my question at the moment, when we're going to start to see the top three sort of pit, how long will these ultra softs last, do you reckon, Owen?
I don't know. They normally last about 10 laps maybe, so they'll come in about lap 9, lap 10 I reckon, as we just see Marco go up the inside of Mr. John, and that's him up into P9 in this race, just while we're back to that point. But yeah, I reckon about 9, 10 they'll probably pit. They could go a bit longer on the Hypersofts compared to what they could at the start of the race, so they can pit a little bit early if need be.
Yeah, very much so, and it was double disappointment there for John as he picked up a penalty for track extending as well, so disappointing that for John down in the Red Bull in 10th place at the moment. So as we said, the field is very much starting to spread itself out as I'm looking down the closest battle we got on track at the moment.
It's the two leaders, actually.
Chiapelli and CJ. Actually, no, it's Jack Craig and James down in 11th and 12th there. As I mentioned, Jackie gets. We should stop talking about people because they get penalties at the moment. So that's not. And of course, I had forgotten. We've still got this threat of rain.
Yes, threat of rain right at the end of the race. So
right at the end of the race.
Yeah, forgot about that. Which the ultra soft runners actually work beautifully for them when the rain comes.
We will have to see. Now, I mean, if it does come around lap 10, then joy for the top three. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1. That's Red Bull Kim, who's found himself pointing the wrong way, very much emulating Nicholas Chiesa there. Yes. So, so back to my point. So, I mean, if it does rain about sort of lap 10, and it's relatively heavy, then the top three could find themselves in a very good position as Dansgaard's really starting to chip into Erlang's lead. The gap dipped just below a second as they crossed the line. But, as I said, yeah, if the rain does come at the right time for these drivers, then they could find themselves battling for the actual lead as Chiapelli sets the fastest lap and now draws his gap between him and CJ to less than a second. But it's Dansgaard who's just half a second off Erlang at the moment. The Force India Mercedes against the Mercedes and heading down the main straight, and the Force India stays on top at the moment. But that Mercedes will want to flip things over and be the dominant force for whatever period it may be, I'm sure. How close is Chiapelli? He's kept it under a second there, and they've pulled out a 5.5 second gap to Joe behind. So these two very much making inroads into the top three, and if the rain does hold off, then they're looking quite pretty, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah, like you said, the rain, it depends when it comes. If it comes any later than about lap 11, I'd say, then it's a bit of a pain in the arse for the ultra soft guys, to be honest, because they've had to stretch them out past their best by a couple of laps. Meanwhile, Chiapelli is getting very close to the back of...
We have a virtual safety car as James has decided to crash at the end of the main straight. Is it? Yes, he's gone straight on at the end of the straight and found a wall. Now, are we going to see any of the top three pit?
I don't know.
They'd have to go onto the softs, and it's a big risk.
Oh, it's a
Erlang
risk.
pits. Erlang and Dansgaard's pitted. Both of the top two are in. Is Chris Johnson going to follow them?
Oh, that's interesting.
He's thinking about it, and he does. The top three have pitted.
Oh, that's a bold call with the threat of rain coming towards the end of the race. They are going to jump onto the Hypersofts.
Dansgaard's gone on the Hypersofts.
Yeah, so's Erland as well, just ahead.
Erlang. And who's going to get the... Oh, Erlang has just about got there now. Where are CJ and Chiapelli? They're just coming on the start-finish straight at the moment. And virtual safety car's ended.
Yeah, so...
And they're green again. And that has really helped. And Joe's only just about held on to third.
Yeah, definitely helped them out massively. The biggest loser from this is Dom, this virtual safety car. He's running fourth before all the stops started. And now Erland and Dan have jumped him.
Disastrous for Dom. He, as you said, now down in P6 and behind drivers that are on fresher, faster tyres than his. So with 7 laps to go, but 7 laps on those Hypersoft tyres. That's quite an ask. Yeah,
that is definitely an ask on these Hypersofts. Most of the time you're starting to struggle grip after about 3 laps, even with low fuel. So, let alone 7, that's going to be a big ask unless it rains towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that threat that we've got hanging over us at the moment. We don't know, of course, how heavy it's going to be. We don't know when it's going to come, but or even if it does come. I mean, that is the other question. Oh, and Chiapelli's clipped the wall.
Has he lost the partners wrongly?
Has he got any damage? I can't see any.
I can't tell. I think he's got away with that, Mike.
Well, he's clearly pushing hard, as he has lost a bit of time during that virtual safety car period to CJ.
Yeah.
So he's going to want to be careful. He skims the wall again. Chiapelli living life on the edge.
Yeah, pushing so hard. Dom Smith's just picked up a time penalty for corner cut in there, so not good for him. His day gets from bad to worse.
Dear me.
Got Chiapelli 1.2. He was, what was he, about 6 tenths before the virtual safety car, so he has lost about
6
half.
or 7 tenths. Yeah,
doubled the gap.
I think he might have got some slight damage, because I'm noticing he's understeering a little bit more than before.
Yeah, he might have. Yeah, it's minor damage. If I can't really get a good look, to be honest, the way the cameras are moving.
Doesn't help that it's black either.
No, not the best idea in these dark conditions at night here in Singapore.
Oh, we've got a yellow flag and set on Dan's car. Something's happened to Dan's car. He spun. Dan's car's in the wall.
Yeah, in the wall.
And is he out of the race?
Well, he hasn't retired, but he hasn't moved either since the spin.
Oh, and it's a disaster for the Estonian. He could have got himself a podium. We don't know what happened. It was off camera. And he's now been disqualified. Yeah. It's a disaster for the Mercedes driver, running so strong in P5. And that is a real shame. He's made a good impact since joining the league, but that won't be how he wants to go on.
Yeah. Main thing to watch out for is Erland's now only about a second behind Joe Sayer, so could he be on for a podium on these Hypersoft tyres? He made the call under virtual safety car. He has to make hay when the sun shines, and now he's very close to the back of Joe.
And I tell you who else is very close to the back of someone at the moment, in Chiapelli. He has just reeled in CJ Beach out of nowhere. The gap is now 4 tenths. Has CJ picked up damage? Has he hit a wall that we haven't seen? Oh, Chiapelli now has hit a wall and has definitely got damage to the front of the wing. Yeah,
definitely got damage that time round. Not helped him at the best. CJ, I think, is okay on his front wing. And I think Chiapelli may end up dropping back now. But Erland is getting very close to the back of Joe. Now 6 tenths as they head on the main straight.
6 tenths of a second. And with the DRS, the Force India driver looking very racy. But you have to say, I think that's probably Chiapelli's race win challenge over, unless CJ gets similar or worse damage. But then that will bring into play Joe and Erlang. And as we said, Erlang on those faster tyres at the moment is looking very quick.
Yeah, definitely looking feisty on the faster tyres. Needs to make... Like I said, those tyres probably only last about 3-4 laps at good optimum grip, and then he'll just be struggling round. It'd be like driving on bubblegum for him, which is funny because they're bubblegum tyres, but let's see how he gets on. Getting very close to the back of Joe now.
Very much so. Well, this fight's going to be keeping going, and we want you to get involved as well. Don't forget to join the conversation, hashtag TGP2 on Twitter, and if you're watching the stream, do leave us some comments. We'll try and answer as many as we can during the race. But this one is keeping our attention quite fixed at the moment, so do bear with us at least, as Chiapelli has dropped 2 seconds behind. And I'll tell you what, Joe's had an awful exit, and that's given the Erlang the perfect opportunity to move up into 3rd place. And that's all he needed. He needed half a chance, and as you said, Owen, it needed to be this lap or his tyres were going to start to fade, and he's done it. Yeah,
definitely taken advantage of the poor exit from Joe there. Got the position, now up into P3, and now we've got a battle brewing between Bazza and Dom Smith.
Yeah, those two keeping themselves entertained, just 6 tenths of a second. Bazza flying the flag from Mercedes now. His teammate was on for a good result, but... you know, it is definitely a shame. He's shown some promise as Dan's car, but it's all up to Bazza, as we said now, and can he deliver the result Mercedes will so desperately want?
Yeah, that's the question. Mercedes want to get a good performance. Lost a 1-2 in Monza after Dan's car crashing out at Ascari on lap number 8, I think it was, in Monza. So Bazza picked up the victory, which is still nice for him, but they really wanted the 1-2 that day and they didn't get it. Bazza trying to make a decent performance here in Singapore, trying to get that top 5 finish for the team.
Yeah, and he is all eyes are going to be on him. As I tell you what, I think CJ something's just happened to CJ. Again, he's just dropped a load of time. Maybe he's saving. I don't know. Let's have a look at his battery. He's in mode 3, but he's just lost about 6 tenths, and Chiapelli's obviously losing time to Erlang, And in a minute, Chiapelli could lose second, who could then even lose third to Joe, because Joe's keeping up with Erlang at the moment, as you see him drifting out of the hairpin there. But definitely, there seems to be points where CJ seems to lose a lot of time on the track.
Definitely seems to be points where he loses a lot of time, and then he just suddenly jumps back up again towards the end of the lap. It looks like Baza is getting very close to the back of Dom. We just had a quick look at what Urs modes they're running. Dom is running the highest mode possible. He's trying so hard to keep Baza behind. Baza being quite conservative, running only mode 2 at the moment.
Baza driving very well at the moment, the Mercedes driver, you have to say. True, the tricky bit at the moment though, as Erlang just half a second off the back of Chiapelli as they go onto the start-finish straight. He's going to have DRS, and is he going to have Chiapelli into turn 1? Maybe not quite. We're going to have to look further down, maybe after the exit on turn 5 and onto the main straight. Baza's 6 tenths behind Dom. He's not close enough, but will these two both get opportunities they need down the long straight?
Yeah, got the DRS
Joe
wide
just
open.
6 tenths off of Erlang as well, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't sure if you finished or not, but we've got Erlang getting closer and closer to Chiapelli. Is he going to have a dive? No, not quite. Poor exit though from Chiapelli. Is he going to try and sneak it round the outside? No, Chiapelli shuts the door on him, and Joe's suddenly back in contention for this P2 spot.
Definitely so, and these two running right up close to the wall, and they're going to want to try and clear Chiapelli. You can clearly see is struggling now, fallen back 3.1 behind CJ. Baza has got past Dom Smith over back. Erlang's had a bit of a poor exit there, and could this give Joe Sayer an opportunity? Now role reversal coming over the Anderson Bridge and onto the whatever this is,
another bridge.
Past a big building, and I don't understand why there isn't a DRS straight on that straight, but there we go. That's something that FI needs to sort out. Joe gets a little bit leery on the exit of whatever corner that is, but the battle for second hots up.
Yeah, definitely getting very close. Like you said, Baza finally got past Dom that lap. Just got him into turn 7, I think it is, at the end of the DRS straight, and that was him past. Meanwhile, this battle is very much hotting up. Erlang hoping to get another good performance in for Force India and try and rectify what their TGP1 crew couldn't do yesterday, and that is get a podium finish.
Very much so. Chiapelli's had an awful run onto the start-finish straight, and could this now be Erlang's opportunity? He thinks better of it. He's thinking of the longer straight, and that is going to be his best chance. Dan's car's joined us back for the last couple of laps, and I tell you what, mate, you have joined at the perfect time, because things are hotting up in the battle for second, and further down I can even see Dom Smith is now under pressure from Chris Johnson. So here we go, one more chance, well, 2 more chances you have to say for Erlang, and this is one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Luca half-heartedly defends it, but it's not enough space. But again, he runs wide out of that corner, but Erlang just can't get the exit he needs.
Yeah, I think Erlang's tyres have pretty much fallen off the cliff now. So he's got that, he hasn't got the superior grip advantage anymore on the guys in front. Chiapelli's got front wing damage. We've got fading tyres on Erlang, and this has helped bring Joe right back into it on the Ultra Softs, who, yes, they've been fading, but they won't have faded anywhere near as much as those Hyper Softs have.
No, and we could still end up with a Renault 1-2. That's another thing to remember for the constructors. This could be huge. But as we have a lap and a half to go, CJ with 3.5 second lead. Our championship lead is going to extend his lead. But who is going to come off best in the battle for second? Chris Johnson's gone. No, his internet's given up, and Chiapelli's tyres are starting to give up, because he's just run horribly wide. And that's put Erlang just 4 tenths behind. Yeah,
Chiapelli's tyres are giving up. His front wing gave up about 4 or 5 laps ago on him when he clipped that wall. Erlang's tyres are giving up on him. We've got Joe Sayer with probably the most grip out of a lot of them, these 3 cars, but because it's Singapore, there isn't a lot of many overtaking opportunities around this circuit.
There really isn't. You have to say Erlang's best opportunity is into turn 1, because Chiapelli's struggling so much on that fast double left-hander at the end of the lap that he's just running so wide. But Erlang, his tyres have fallen off so much he can't get close enough. But the gap is 3.5 tenths as they work their way, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I don't know who that's for, but onto the main straight now. Chiapelli's going to have to defend for his life against Erlang. He dives to the inside to cover him off. Erlang's going to have to go the long way round if he really wants it, and Joe Sayer's really getting in the mix now and nearly hits the wall with his excitement. Erlang all over the back of Chiapelli's car, almost changing gear for him, and Joe waiting in the wings, but at the moment the bats are still sleeping.
Yes, definitely are still sleeping, but he's just going to wait very close to an accident there between Chiapelli and Erland. He's got one more good opportunity, Erland or Joe Sayer, to make up positions. This train is getting very feisty, and yeah, Erland's lacking grip on those rear tyres. But
he's clipped the wall.
Yeah, he's clipped the wall there.
Is this Joe's opportunity? Joe Sayer to the corner with no name. And he just doesn't have to... if Erlang had damage for his front wing as well, you have to say Joe would probably do it. But those Ipersofts are just about giving enough grip. And they're so close. And he's actually touched him. He's nearly pushing him round the corner.
Meanwhile,
it was lost. It was late. It wasn't very great. But someone who's reached greatness through this race is CJ. He's controlled it. And he wins the Singapore Grand Prix. And somehow Luca Chiapelli's going to come home in second. It's just 1/10 the difference between a podium and going home without any silverware in the end. Joe Sayer just missing out. Bazza comes home 5th. Good result for him. Dom Smith down in 6th. Whoa, what might have been. Marco F1 Freak is going to come home P7. He was 4th at one point at the start, but had that... it seems like ages ago, the start of that incident with Doormat. Mr. John's going to come home 8th. As he takes a very dubious line through the last corner. Jack Craig's going to bring it home 9th. Chris Johnson is going to bring it home 10th. I don't know what with Chris. He needs to get a better internet. Get off PlusNet. Go to Virgin or whatever. I don't care. Michael Kenny, it flashed up. He got a penalty. Definitely not a podium down in 11th. But he's going to finish 7th. And F1's very own Nicholas Chiesa.
Yeah.
Red Bull Kim is going to bring it home just inside the points. How lucky for Kim.
Yeah, Red Bull Kim doing his best Roy Nazani impression and Nicholas Chiesa impression all rolled into one to finish 12th.
And somehow getting home with a point as well. So I would say well done to Kim, but
it's not really a lot of competition. Only 13 cars finished this race.
That's true. And one of them wasn't even here.
Yes.
Nonetheless, as most of the drivers have clearly run out of fuel, I haven't really got much of a voice left, so I'm going to leave. I think I might leave the results to Owen to go through.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was chaotic that end of the race, as we see the Renault driver of CJ on the podium, the Sauber driver in second, and the podium for Force India today. Couldn't achieve it yesterday in TGP1 after their driver, who was battling for the win, leading at one point, made a stupid mistake coming out of the pit lane, clipped the inside wall and ripped.
Mistake.
Yeah.
What sort of muppet would crash in the pit exit?
I don't know what sort of muppet would crash in the pit entry or pit exit. It's just that sort of stupid behaviour that cost Renault a win yesterday, Force India a possibility of a win as well. But let's see the final results here in TGP2 at Singapore. So the final results are that CJ takes home the victory, 2.7 seconds ahead of Chiapelli. Then we have Erland in third. Joe Sayer missing out on the podium by about a 10th in the end. So close that finish of the race if you've seen it. Bazza 5th, Dom Smith in 6th, got Marco in 7th, Mr. John in 8th, Elite Shots in 9th, Chris Johnson, poor race from him, had the chance to do well on the same strategy as Erland in the end and only finished 10th. We've got Michael Kenny 11th, Red Bull Kim rounding out the points in 12th. Then we have Conrees in 13th, 14th, and DNFers were James, Matt Shepherd, and then Dan Scarr.
Well, there we are. What a race. Let us know your thoughts as well, because that was definitely gripping. And that's not one that we'll forget in a hurry for sure. And you have to say, the drivers put on a very good show for us in the end. But it's going to be interesting to see what Russia has to hold. Russia then, Sochi, the home of the Winter Olympics back in 2014. And we will see what that race... Normally a little bit chaotic, but hopefully the drivers will keep well behaved enough to put on a good show.
Yeah, hoping they do so in the Russian city of Sochi, round the Olympic Park that hosted the 2014 Winter Olympics. And Vladimir Putin was so happy about those Olympics, and he must be so happy about the Russian Grand Prix being in the country.
I'm sure he loves it. So, Owen, I'd like to take this opportunity now to really sort of... We've got... How many races we got? We've just finished race 15. So we've got 7 races left of this title.
7, Jesus.
Is it 7? Is it 6, 7?
But yeah, we'll be
just
7
around
after...
5. 15.
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
with 7 races.
Yeah.
Just maybe
Gosh,
remember how
that
long the
seems like
season
quite a lot,
is
actually. I
now.
thought it was a lot less than that.
Yeah.
So we still have 175 points as the maximum that one driver can get from the rest of these races now. So, who do you see as coming out on top for the rest of these races? Because I thought Chiapelli, after the first couple of rounds, when he won, 4 or so races in a row, I thought he'd had this one sewn up. But he had those couple of weeks away, and when he was back, he didn't particularly do overly well.
Well, he's still got...
And now it's very much in the balance.
Yeah, very much in the balance. He's extended his lead, CJ, that race to... I have to do my quick maths as we get going here in Russia. It was 171. You talk for a bit, Mike, while I work out the new gap.
Okay, let's have a little gander of that. So Sochi then. I don't really know much about it, I'm afraid. It's a Russian city and it's near the sea. And there's a Winter Olympics here and there's currently an F1 race here. So don't use me as your tour guide because I won't be able to give you much information. What I do know, however, is that the TGP2 races here before have been very good. And the TGP1 race last night was also very good. So hopefully we should be in for a very good race here today as well. But we shall but see.
Yep, I've got the gap for you, by the way, now, Mike. It's 23 points.
Fantastic. I was running out of words.
Yep, 23 points is the new gap for CJ at the top of the championship over Chiapelli.
23 points. That's nearly a race win now. And it's overcast, but not raining. It's av temp, no rain. So, we saw rain in qualifying yesterday in TGP1, which caused a little bit of issue, should we say.
Yeah, did cause a bit of issue yesterday. Everyone didn't really know what to do in strategy in TGP1. Some people were claiming it was wet, dry enough to still go laps, even though it's spitted with rain.
Yeah, it was. We're waiting for our trusty weather forecast.
I've got the weather forecast actually from our Sauber data centre. Thank you, Sauber, for giving us the weather. So, Sauber, thank you very much. You've told us it's fully dry here in Russia, so no chaos like the qualifying in TGP1 yesterday.
Fully dry, eh? What a day to be alive for these drivers. It is, in fairness to it, it's had a lot of criticism from the press, but it is a good track to drive. It's quite fast. It's a little bit technical towards the end of the lap, and I think it's quite a good circuit. But I know it's had a lot of criticism. But when you've got a lovely turn like turn 4, it is a nice place to watch an F1 car go around.
It's a decent circuit. There's a nice setting for the F1 race, being in the Olympic Park of Sochi. Very interesting setting. It's very similar to, I think Valencia is probably the best way of describing it, like location-wise.
Yes.
But yeah,
yes.
very interesting circuit here in Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say thankfully it's a little bit more interesting than Valencia. I don't know why. I mean, that circuit had so much promise, but it never lived up to it.
Yeah, a bit of an odd one, Valencia. They had a decent final race to send it off, but most of the other races were bore-fest, I think is the best way of describing it.
Yeah, they were. I mean, in 2009 there wasn't a single registered overtake. Now, thankfully, Russia's fared a little bit better than that, and they have had at least a single registered overtake on the track. But I don't know why, but Valencia just didn't seem to do what it should have done.
So everyone's starting their laps in this session. So shall we ride along with someone for a hot lap? And do you want to take us through it, Mike?
I think we should ride along with... should we ride along with Marco, seeing as he's just started a lap?
Okay, yep, go for it.
So, we've got this long... You could call it a turn 1. Most people don't. But the real first turn we have on this track is turn number 2 we're heading down to at the moment. Braking around the 100-metre mark. Actually, Marco's locked up and gone quite wide there. I imagine that might be an invalidation lap time with the strict corner cutting rules that we run here at this track. But definitely, it's a very, very technical part. Obviously, that long-term 4 coming towards the end of sector 1 now. Marco goes wide again. I don't think this was the right person to watch for the first lap, but we're going to have to go with it now anyway. Coming around this corner now, a little bit wide there. You can take a little bit more of the exit curb, and that corner is a little bit off camber. Does seem to drag you out wide. Now, this fast right-hander, which you'd always think you could be able to take faster than you can, then you get to it and realise you really can't. This double left, which has gone horribly wide on, and I think scruffy is the best way to describe this lap so far from Marco, but he gets now onto the second DRS straight on the lap as he heads towards probably the best overtaking spot on the circuit. Down then, difficult braking zone, take an early apex. Now we've got this tricky left-handed turn which just seems to go on forever as he's found out and runs very wide. Now you've got the quick left and right, very tricky again to just find yourself off camber, offline, and struggling then coming into the last 2 corners. Now the double right, and what lap time is this going to be for Marco then? Round the final corner, don't want to run it too wide onto the curb, and he does a 33.5.
Yep, still quickest so far.
Yep, Chiapelli did a 33.8.
Yeah, still waiting for some other guys. Got elite shots coming round. Now he's pulling into the pits. Got Danskar. What about Conrigs? In currently P5 on the timing thing, but he's one of the next ones to settle out. We've got Danskar just in front of him, I think that is, on the circuit.
I think so.
He gets an invalidated lap as Conrigs goes pole.
Just go pole. CJ coming around the last corner now. What lap time is he going to do? He goes P3, so he goes 1500ths quicker than his main title rival. So that could be crucial for him.
Yeah. Just seeing if anyone else is on the lap at the moment. Don't look like it. Oh, bloody hell, Bazza!
What did he do?
He ran wide coming through turn 4, had a massive spin, repeated Romain Grosjean and ripped half the car to shreds. And he's out of this session. What year did Romain Grosjean do that again?
Oh gosh, yeah, I can see the tyre marks and the remains of his car.
Yeah, it was quite a big accident. I just went on board of it and just, yeah, do his best Romain Grosjean impression from 15, I'd like to say. Was it 16? I can't remember for sure. But yeah, big accident there from Bazza, and he's out of this session before even setting a lap time.
Disaster then for the Mercedes driver, who had a good race last time out, in the end dragging some points home for the Mercedes outfit.
Yeah, doing a good effort, dragging some points home for the Mercedes team, like you said. And yeah, we're just going to watch Joe Sayer coming towards the end. No, he's pulling into pits actually, that was a bit pointless. Yeah. Goes in. Sorry.
Right, who's on a lap at the moment? Dom Smith has somehow oh sorry, I thought we'd split Chiapelli and Luca then, but Chiapelli and Luca, right, you can tell I'm tired. Right, who's setting some laps at the moment then? Michael Kenny's just gone P6. Well done, Michael. Solid effort for the Haas driver. Who's out there at the moment? We've got Danskar just about to start a lap, or just finishing a lap. He's about to come up to the line, and we're about to find out.
He's starting a lap.
Starting a lap. That's what he's doing. On the harder tyres.
Yeah, and not using the full boost mode either on the others. He's in mode 4 instead of mode 5.
So he's on overtake mode, maybe fancying a little bit more for the straights, but Danskar then, very tidy, turns 2 and 3. And let's see what he can do.
One decent run so far.
Yep, not a bad lap, definitely for the Mercedes driver. So coming up to the quick right-hander then, chucks the car in. Tricky double left now, so just always wants to drag you wide, and that's exactly what happened to the Estonian. As he now comes on to the, it's not really a straight, but it's a straight. It's a not very straight. And end of sector 2 then. We're not quite sure how he's doing in comparison to Colin Reese. He's got a 33.4 to beat. The last sector is all very tight and technical. Runs a little bit wide there. He'll want to have clipped the apex a little bit better. Chucks it in now to the left-hander. 2 very slow corners, but you need to get them right. Dansgaard then on the run to the last 2 corners. Nicely on the brakes, nicely on the curb. Down to the last corner now. Runs a little bit wide, a bit of understeer, and up to the line. He goes pole by 300ths of a second. A fantastic effort from Dansgaard. It was so neat and tidy.
Yeah, and on the alternate tyres as well.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't spot that.
Yeah, on the
so crucially, as Owen just said, not on the better tyres.
So yeah, very good run from there from Dansgaard, putting it pole on the ultra soft. Tyre wear's not really an issue though in Sochi. It's you can be quite open with the strategy here, so it's not going to be too much of an effect. And for this race also, I better mention that Charlie Whiting has got his eagle eyes out. It's more than normal for this race circuit.
Yeah, very much so. As you see Erlang just going out there on what I believe is an out lap in Nice.
Yeah, definitely an out lap. I can see it on the timing tree. Definitely an out lap.
Confirms.
Yeah. Is Joe just starting a lap? I think he is. Yeah, Joe is just starting a hot lap.
But let's see what he can do. Joe Saylor trying to help his team be strong in the constructors.
Yeah, needs another good showing from Renault. Renault doing very well in both TGP series as constructors standings. We've got Softy and Jack in TGP1 as Chris Johnson puts it on pole with a 33.2 there.
Chris Johnson! Wow! What a guy!
Yeah, very much so. Decent run from Chris Johnson there. As I was saying, Renault doing very well as we see Joe Sayer on the straight that's about as straight as John Barrowman as they head into that corner. So yeah, there's an interesting run from Renault. Softy and Jack doing really well in TGP1, and then we've got CJ and Joe holding up their end of the bargain in TGP2, haven't we?
Yeah, well, if you were to have junior and works teams, then they'd definitely be flying the flag well for them at the moment. But Joe Sayer then, as Chiapelli goes pole, 32.4, it's almost a second clear. As Joe Sayer's lap, I imagine, was invalidated because he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
But Chiapelli, 8/10ths quicker than anyone else.
Yeah. He's a second clear of Dansgaard, who did his time on the Ultrasofts, so he's got time to find definitely Dansgaard. How much of a difference is the Ultrasofts and Hypersofts on this circuit? Like, that is the real question for him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that does pan out, because he, as you said, did a very good lap as CJ goes second on a 33.1, but still 7/10ths off of Chiapelli.
Yeah. And only 3/10 ahead of Dansgaard, really, and he was on the softer tyres, Chiapelli. CJ even.
He was, yeah. So, wow. That's something.
Yeah,
I think Joe Sayer's trying to give it another go.
Yes, he is. Definitely good. Well, actually, he's not using any ERS mode, to be fair. So I don't think he is.
Okay, maybe don't admit that.
Erland definitely on the flyer though, Erland, who hasn't set a time yet either in this session as he comes into turn 1. So a decent run through turn 1. Very tricky exit of turn 1 as well, where he just cuts back in on you on the way the track is. It's very easy to run out onto that AstroTurf and gain some time, but then you'll get done by Charlie White and he'll be very unhappy with you.
Charlie's got his telescope out this weekend, boys and girls, so do watch your track extending, because if he doesn't catch it, we will.
Yeah.
So 6 minutes to go then in qualifying. Erlang on, as we said, a hot lap at the moment. A lot of drivers either coming in on mid-in laps or just starting flyers. We'll have to see where the popular Indonesian puts himself on the time streak.
Stonking lap though from Chiapelli. You've got to mention it again. That is some margin to go clear of the field at the moment.
I still am struggling to comprehend it. I think that's a bloody good time.
Yeah. Not sure where that put him amongst the TGP1 field, but yeah, very solid time from Chiapelli. CJ about 6, 7, 7 tenths back, so miles back at the time being. He's definitely got some time to gain. And the question is, for the rest of this session, can anyone even get close to Chiapelli, let alone pass his time? Oh, as we say that, Erland pops in with a 32-1.
Yeah, thanks for that, Erland. Yeah, you completely ruined our nice little moment for Chiapelli there.
Yeah.
He was doing very well.
Yeah, you ruined our narrative there, Erland. We had a great story setting up for the end of the session, and you've went and gone on pole. I hope you have some grace and decorum, because you've got some grace and decorum of a dump truck.
But nonetheless, not taking anything away from the Indonesian driver. Very, very good lap, but very ominous again from the Force India driver, really staking his claim of just how quick he is. And definitely don't discount him at all from getting good results.
Yeah, got a bit of a lull in the session at the moment. People just coming in towards the end of their previous runs. Just got a bit of a lull as we wait to see the final few runs in this session from every driver. About 3 minutes to go, I think most people start coming out, won't you agree?
Yep, 3 minutes to go. When we get about to that sort of point, we've got another minute. Drivers just putting on the final set of tyres that they really want to go and give a bonsai lap on. Getting the right amount of fuel in the car to give you enough to do that one really, really good lap, making sure the battery's well charged and getting in the right frame of mind you need.
Con Rees goes on pole with a 31.8. Very good showing from the Force India drivers here.
Blimey, that's incredible.
That is some lap time. Is the track just improving that much? Didn't realise there'd be this much track evolution here in Sochi. Jesus.
I happen to agree with you there, because that's someone else. Because that's already 6 tenths quicker than what Luca did, and we were sat there in awe about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe Force India have just found the magic setup.
Yeah. They've got an extra... Well, I wouldn't want to call them cheating, but Vijay Mallya did get done for tax evasion, so maybe they've hidden something in the car to give them some extra performance here in Sochi.
Or hidden something in the steward's office. We'd like to think not, of course, but it does beg the question.
Yeah.
So, 3 minutes to go in qualifying. Are we going to see the mad rush out of the pits now? I'd like to think so, since we bigged it up. We've got one car out. We've got 2 cars going out at least. Jack Craig and Chris Johnson. I saw someone else, I think.
Yeah, Dan Scar's out on the circuit. He's going on Ultrasofts again, Dan Scar.
Oh.
So maybe he wants to start on those tyres. It's an interesting strategy. He's sacrificing lap time in this session, and it's a big gap between him, who we thought was doing amazing earlier, and the current pole sitter, Connor, who's about a second and a half easy, isn't it? More than that.
Yeah, and Connor's now decided that he's not going to go any quicker, and you know what? I agree.
Yeah. He's set the goalposts very far out indeed. Let's see if anyone can take it. Anyone can get close. If someone like Marco or Chris Johnson ends up on pole, it'd be like them scoring a 65-yard field goal in American football terms, for anyone who cares.
I don't know what any of that means, so I'm just going to say yes and
nod your head, yes. Okay, fair enough.
Yes, yeah, that, yes. And it looks like people have listened to us, because we've got about 6 or 7 cars on outlaps at the moment, which is good news.
Meanwhile, Dan Scott finished his lap, by the way. He's done a 32.2 on the Ultrasoft, so he is getting... Wow. He's not far off Con Rees at all, actually. That's 4 tenths.
Yeah, but you have to think of the time he could do if he just slapped a set of hypers on.
I know. He could easily be on pole if he slapped a set of hypers on, but he's playing it conservative. He's going to try and go long in the race by starting on the Ultra tyres.
Yep. It's going to... I don't really know... I mean, tyre wear isn't huge around here, but what the ultimate strategy is going to be, I don't think anyone really knows, as Michael Kenny decided he's going no quicker than 10th. And I've somehow ended up on board with Chris Johnson as he starts a lap, so the Papaya McLaren currently finds himself in P6, and can he improve on that? I'll tell you who isn't going to improve, Jack Craig, who hasn't set a lap time at all.
Yeah. Bazza and Jack Craig haven't set a lap. And Joe Sayer, the big worry for Renault, he hasn't set a lap time yet either in this session.
Disaster for them. And they will want... Oh, it's Chris Johnson's in the wall.
Yes, he is. He's run wide. I think he's made a bit of a boo-boo going around turn 4, I think is the name of it, or
That
turn
is turn
3?
4, and he is tried to emulate Bazza in a less dramatic way.
Yeah.
So Chris Johnson is going to be no better than 6th then. Joe Sayer, he's going to be last.
That is a poor performance from the Renault driver. I think he's struggling with these extra limitations that Charlie Whiting has put here in Russia. He's struggled with it, and he's been caught out today by starting at the back of the field for the Grand Prix.
Well, we were saying just how well and how happy Renault would have been. Oh, and Marco's just put it in the wall as well.
Yeah, Landry tyres, they're all
Lit up the
dropping like
red tyres
flies.
coming out of the corner. Matt Shep's gone. Who's left?
Chiapelli is the only
it.
person on a lap.
No pressure, Chiapelli, but we kind of want to be entertained.
Yeah, the only person on the lap.
He's got to find 6 attempts to be on pole. And he runs a little bit wide there. He's got a lot of yellow flags. A lot of yellow flags he's got to try and avoid, but this tricky left-right, he goes deep again there. This isn't the sort of lap he would have wanted. Chiapelli then, up to the last couple of corners. Is he going to improve? And if he does improve, where will it put him? Chiapelli up to the line, I don't know.
He's
He's gone P4, I can see in his dash.
Stayed P4. He did improve.
So, Con Rees, it's a Force India 1-2.
Jesus.
And that'll put a very big smile on the face of Vijay Maria. He might even have a curry tonight. This is probably their most famous pole since Jamie.
Yeah, definitely a big show from Force India. 1 and 2 on the grid. So do you want to run us down quickly?
I'd love to run us down quickly. Con Rees on pole position with a 31.8, a fantastic pole from him. Erlang joining him on the front row, P2. Dan Skar in 3rd, the Estonian. Great effort from him on the Ultrasoft. Mr. Chiapelli in 4th, CJ 5th. Chris Johnson, a good qualifying from him in 6th. Marco 7th. Dom Smith down in 8th place. Disaster for Sauber. Mr. John in 10th. And Red Bull Kim rounding out the top 10, just out qualifying his teammate.
Yeah, so looking forward to this race in Sochi, around this 3.6 mile circuit like we've already mentioned a couple of times in this session. It's a circuit based around the Olympic Park here in Sochi, built for the 2014 Olympics, and it was also used as a World Cup city for the 2018 World Cup in Russia.
Yes, it was. So, let's see what sort of race we're going to have, because I'm very interested. As the drivers just finalising their preparations now. Getting ready for the long run down to turn 2 in the first real braking zone, which in TGP1 last night caused some huge drama with a 4-car pile-up, even on turn 1.
Yeah.
4 cars involved, one of them out on the spot, the other 3 managing to continue. But it does make for some very interesting moments. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in Russia. And we're underway here, and it's a good start from the front 2, but a better start from Dan Skar and a poor one from Chiapelli, who's already under pressure from the Renault of CJ.
Yeah. Oh, there's an accident at the back of the field, just caught in between the Ferrari and the Haas. It looked like
And
Red
it's a
Bull
disaster for the Ferrari, but it's a good start in the end for Chiapelli. I don't know what happened to CJ, but he's dropped down to 8th, and we've got a safety car. And I have to admit, I missed most of that. I do apologise, but it's a dream start for the Force Indies in the end. Kim's got a 5-second stop-and-go penalty on lap 1 already for corner cutting. Jesus Christ, Kim. Dan's car dropped a position to Chiapelli in the end, who you have to say... I thought had a pretty poor initial getaway. Dom Smith's climbed up to 5th, so great for Dom. But CJ down to 8th, that's not what he would have wanted.
Yeah, not what he wanted. So Joe's made a couple of positions from the back thanks to that crash between Elite Shots and Red Bull Kim. From what it looked like, Red Bull Kim just went into the side of Elite Shots, and then they were both in the wall and causing chaos.
So disaster there for those 2 drivers. We said this race causes drama, and we said last night we had an incident on turn 1, lap 1, and we've had another one today. So this will give the drivers enough time to set it up. I'm just looking at Conry. Has he got some front wing damage?
I'm not too sure. I'll have a quick look for you, Mike. I can't tell. All I know is, yeah, the big incident at lap 1. It's not as big as the one in TGB1 yesterday, but still caused chaos and actually brought out a safety car, unlike the TGB1 one yesterday. As we see,
Oh, Conrace is pitted.
Erland's pitted even.
Oh, Erlang's got a drive-through.
It's speeding under safety car. He was going too quick for the Delta.
No, sorry, it's Erlang that's gone into pits, not Conrace. Sorry. So, big call from Erlang there, but it's got him a penalty.
Yeah, got speeding under safety car. I think he was too quick under the Delta or something, pulling into the pit lane. It's just got him, penalty, and it's not what he needed. Most of the field have made a pit stop. The only people that haven't is the current top three now, which is Connor, Chiapelli and Dansgaard. And Dansgaard really didn't need this safety car starting on the Ultra tyres, and Baz are in fourth now.
No, definitely not. So, a drama already, and playing havoc with the strategists, you have to say, as they've now got to try and work out what the hell they do.
Yeah, what exactly? Probably it's a bit stupid from Conrace and Chiapelli to stay out, to be honest, especially Chiapelli. That's the bold, weird one. Surprised he didn't pull into the pits as well, because those Ultrasofts can comfortably make it to the end from lap 1. So that was a bit of a bold call. That I can see why Dansgaard and Baz stayed out, because they're both on the Ultrasoft tyres, so they've got really nothing to lose. Their race, this doesn't really help their race at all, but it doesn't hinder it as much as I think it could. It just means they've got to push on the safety car restart like mad.
The person this has helped the most is Bazo, who's worked his way up to 4th.
Yeah. On the Ultrasofts though as well, so he's on the same strategy.
Sorry, I thought he'd pitted. He hadn't pitted in all of that, so my apologies.
Yeah, Erland's now the top guy of the guys that have pitted, but he's got that penalty for speeding under safety car, so we could have Dom Smith as the net leader of this race at some point.
Disaster for Erlang, but we'll have to see. Again, this is another one where it's going to be a bit of a long game. Who can make the tyres last the best? Who can make some wise calls? As Conrace weirdly sticking off the racing line there, not really sure why.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy, I think, the best way of putting it, of driving under the safety car.
Does anyone dive into the pits now? Luca's thinking about it.
Luca's
gone for it.
Yeah, Luca or Dansgaard thought about it as well, but decided to stay out. Took out the bollard as well, thinking about it. But Chiapelli, like I said, he should have really pitted first lap round. I'm surprised he didn't. And now
he's going to lose so much time from it.
Yeah, but he's probably going to be on the better strategy though, because he's going to be on the Ultras, which will last till the end of the race. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So Connor's going to end up being the big loser now. He might as well have. It's a hard one, to be honest. It is a hard one.
It's not. These conditions always throw up some interesting races, and this one so far, no exception. Safety car always throws a little bit of a spanner in the works for some, and for Conrace it's giving him a serious headache, and the Force India mechanic splitting as Joe's picked up a 5-second. He's crashed.
Well, Elite Shots is out the race. I don't know what happened with him in Elite Shots, but Elite Shots is now out of the race because of it.
Well, has Joe got any damage? I can't see any damage.
No, I can't see any damage either, so I'm not really sure what's gone on there. There's a bit of a bizarre one.
Disaster for Joe and Renault. Yeah,
Chiapelli now, like you said though, has got to make his way from... He pitted a lap too late under the safety car. He'd already been in the queue for basically a lap. And now he's going to be right at the back of the pack, and he's just going to have to try and carve his way through the field. He is luckily one of the quicker drivers in the field, so it shouldn't be as difficult as thought, but it's still going to be a challenge for him from there.
Yep. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on it.
We have to keep a look as well.
Safety car will surely be in at the end of this lap, so we will get back under racing conditions again shortly.
Yeah. So, safety car is in this lap. So, as we restart the race, we're going to have Connor first, Dansgaard second, and Baz third.
Well, so the top three haven't pitted, and will want to be thinking about pitting shortly. Everyone else down from fourth down has pitted, but the one who's at the head of them all has got a penalty. So, Conrace then brings the field round. He's keeping very close to the safety car. He's not backed off as much as I thought he would. And we've got a double Mercedes meet and a big Force India sandwich at the moment. And when's Connery's going to gun it? Yeah. He goes now. Here we go. Dan Scar's gone with him. Oh, no, he hasn't gone yet.
He couldn't go because the safety car wasn't in the pit lane.
Disaster for Con, and that's really not helped him out. And it's, tell you who it has helped out is his teammate and Dom Smith. We said that they're going to be pretty much the net leaders in a minute, but Erlang and Dom are going to have a great run on Bazza coming down into turn number 2.
Yeah, great run
Bazza's
indeed.
Going to have to go defensive. Erlang is going to go up the inside. It's close, and Bazza's held on, and Dom Smith pulled out, and round turn number 4 then. The long left-hander. And who's going to come out on top? Is there going to be any incidents into turn number 5? No. And Bazza somehow holds on for the moment.
Chiapelli's already made up 2 places from the back of the field. He's already got past Chris Johnson, who's just gone backwards on this restart, and Red Bull Kim on the restart as well. So Con Rees, his strategy probably now is just gun it, hope for the best, and see what happens now. He's probably not going to get a podium from this race now, though, so it's a bit of a disaster for him.
Yep, you have to say Dan Scar's gone with him though. Obviously Dan Scar on the harder tyres could still be a major factor in all of this, but you have to say the where it's at the moment is the battle for 4th. Erlang dropping off a little bit from Bazza now, and Dom Smith is going to want to try and get past Erlang as soon as he can. With that penalty, he won't want to be held up by him.
Yeah, and Matt Shepherd is also on the back of this train, so this train for the battle for 3rd now is between a Merc, a Force India, a Sauber and a Ferrari. And CJ's starting to claw his way onto the back of this train as well. So everyone looks like they're going to be stuck behind Bazza at one point.
Yeah, CJ having a good restart, already made up a position over, I think it was Chris Johnson, who then found himself going backwards. Hopefully nothing too untoward was involved in that, but for sure CJ on the prowl, and with his main championship rival down 11th, Chiapelli gaining another position, and is currently 3/10 of a second off of Joe, CJ's teammate, and Chiapelli doesn't try anything yet, but Marco is getting very close to the back of Chiapelli then, actually had to run wide, but Chiapelli's in a great position to try and pounce on Joe. He's going to try and go around the outside of turn number 4, that's brave. He ducks to the outside of turn number 5, he's going to try that instead, and there's contact, but Chiapelli, has he got it done? Not quite. No. That was brave when you're fighting for a championship.
Yeah, but sometimes
he's going to try and send one up the inside here. Is he? This is not an overtaking spot, and wisely in the end thinks better of it, but does get Joe in the end just before the double left-hander. Yeah,
got the move done. As you can see, Matt Shepherd is getting close to the back of Dom here. But like you were saying with Chiapelli's move, that sort of move can win you and lose you a championship. It could go, you could go from hero to 0 like that, and it's just gone. But it's worked out for the better in the end.
Yeah, Chiapelli then with it all to win, nothing to lose, and it was very much that attitude on track as well. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. I think that was Kim off.
Yeah, Erland's pitting again. Oh no, he's got a penalty.
He's got that penalty. I don't know whether it's a 5-second stop go or what, but
I think it's a drive-through. I think it's a drive-through. So that was a disaster for him. He was looking so good at the start of this race, and it's all just fallen to the wayside for the Sauber team. We've got Red Bull Kim picking up time penalty as well. But we've got Matt Shepherd looking up the inside. Dom Smith into turn 2. Is he going to get the move done? Yes, he is. And that is him up into P4 in this race, Mike.
Yeah, that's a very good move from Dormat, as Con Rees makes his day even worse by picking up a penalty. And, yep, the veteran of TGP showing the long time, even longer veteran, how it's done there.
Yeah, and that also means that Matt Shepherd is now in the lead of this race once Bazza, Con Rees and Dan make their stops.
Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Matt, I can't remember last time that Dormat won a race. I don't even want to try and guess because I don't want to be insulting. Yeah. But it's been a little while, should we say? That's the usual excuse that blokes say, isn't it? It's been
that's always what you say when it's been no one can remember how long. It's just a little while. Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it.
Just a little while. Yeah. But
Dom's going to have a snap back, though.
Smith, yeah, he's still got him all over his arse as Bazza picks up a penalty. Chiapelli's made up another position now and has now just got one car in between him and his main championship rival. So great recovery drive from Chiapelli. Something to Marco. as he's dropped back a couple of positions there. We've got Michael Kenny running wide, and that's having a disaster for Joe. He's got a good exit, but Marco's got an even better exit, and this could be carnage into the second to last corner. As Joe going to try and send one at the inside, he makes Michael Kenny run wide and does get the move done in the end. So good move from the Renault driver as the Toro Rosso follows him through. But we have got Matt Shepherd been overtaken by Dom Smith again.
We've also got Chiapelli passing Mr. John going into turn 1 as well. Yes, he has.
Yes,
so we've got 2 moves there done. Dom's back in the net lead of this race. So this could be a back and forth battle for the rest of this race between Matt and Dom.
Potentially so.
With CJ lurking in the background actually as well.
Yep, and now if you look even further behind, you've got Chiapelli as Matt Shepherd throws one at the inside of Dom and moves back up into 4th place. So the battle for the net lead continues. But you have to say you've still got 3 drivers. Well, I'd say probably 2. Baz are out of it with that penalty, and Comrie's probably out of it with the penalty as well. Oh, no,
Matt Shepherd's gone!
Oh, disaster! Oh, Matt, no!
Well, I think we might have
just got a
cursed it
snap
there.
of oversteer, and that was that.
Yeah, I think the commentator's curse has struck again in TGP. Happened yesterday with the leader of the Force India driver bottling it.
Oh, and he's now clipped the back of CJ. Be careful, Matt.
Oh, it's just...
Chiapelli's going to try and get through, so don't hit the wall. Oh, no.
It's all turned to chaos, and CJ... Sorry, CJ's in prime position now.
CJ's in a great position as Dan Scar's pitted. And CJ's going to try and take the net lead. And Chiapelli's now behind these 2. Dom needs to really help his teammate out, because at the moment he's got his main title rival right behind him.
Yeah, he has indeed.
Dom has to go defensive, but that's all he can do.
Yeah, it's sitting duck on this straight, to be honest, the way it is, this DRS straight. He's just slotted in right in front of his teammate. He's got a 3-second time penalty now as well, but he won't care too much about that. He wants to fight this CJ on the road.
He's going to try and do him into turn 5, is he? And thinks better of it in the end. But Dom Smith looking very racist. Chiapelli runs a little wide behind us.
Yeah, Chiapelli, but it's now a 3-way battle for the lead with 3 title contenders. CJ and Chiapelli once again doing battle for a lead of a race, and now Dom's got involved this time as well. But will there be team orders at some point with Sauber? Dom might have to let Chiapelli have a sniff at CJ. He's closer in the championship, and we don't want to let CJ get even further ahead in the championship with another victory tonight.
Definitely not, but I tell you what, Dom Smith is putting piles of pressure on CJ at the moment. Maybe Luca will just let Dom have a go at him. Just keep battling with him, and he might hold him up, and that will give me a better opportunity. But Dom needs to try and make a move soon to help his teammate, and CJ's had to go defensive at the end of the main straight as Chiapelli runs a little bit deep into that corner, and these 3 battling for is the net lead of the race.
Yes. Also, like to mention that Mr. John has kept up with Chiapelli once Chiapelli got past him, so he's now net P4 in this race. Conreeves has pitted, but Mr. John having a stellar performance in his Red Bull.
Very much so, and Dan's car, for those who are wondering, has come out in P10 behind the likes of Michael Kenny, so really not worked well for him. But as Conreeves pitted, what was the net lead now becomes the lead, and is CJ going to have enough to hold off Dom Smith? Down the main straight then. Dom's not close enough, I wouldn't have said. And Chiapelli's actually having to go defensive with Mr. John.
Yeah, weren't close enough there. Didn't get a great exit coming out the final corner from Dom, and it's just put him too far back now from CJ. Chiapelli, again, he needs the more points. He needs to really get close to his teammate for his teammates to even give him a sniff of getting past and going on and hounding CJ for this race victory.
Yep, you have to say it's all or nothing approach. But Mr. John is putting piles of pressure on Chiapelli, and that is not what Chiapelli wants at all. And he's now dropped a second behind his teammate. Baz has picked up another penalty. CJ's locked up, and Dom Smith is pretty much changing gear for CJ now. Yeah. Here we go then, onto the main, not very straight.
Yep.
Dom Smith is in prime position, and he'll need to send one up the inside and keep it under control, under brakes. Cheers, but see him. Oh, I can't even get my words out. CJ makes a late defensive move, and Dom Smith is somehow still behind, but he's got the run out of this corner, and this could be exactly the opportunity he needs to take the lead. CJ's still there, and they somehow don't make contact. And now Chiapelli's all over the back of CJ. What is going on?
Oh, they've made contact though. It's Chiapelli's lost a bit of his front wing.
Again! Oh, disaster, and he's run wide. You can see the damage coming into play now, and that's not what he would have wanted.
Yeah, definitely not.
But Dom Smith, he was plucky, he was persistent, and at the moment he leads the race.
Yep, CJ's still all over the back of him though. So this is still not over yet. CJ's going to have a move in the inside of turn 4.
He's going to do it! And he's done it, he's into the lead. Dom Smith concedes, but is he going to try into turn 5? Dom Smith's going to have a look and think better of it. And we've still got 4 laps of this motor race left.
Yeah, very exciting. And Mr. John is sitting in the background, the only one of these drivers battling for the lead that isn't a title contender. So he could just go gun-ho if he wants to.
Yep, Dom Smith with a penalty and Chiapelli with a broken front wing as Danscar picks up a penalty now. Could find himself comfortably on a podium and maybe maybe in P2.
Yeah. Dom's run wide again, but he's still all over the back of CJ as they head onto the John Barrowman Straight, as I like to call it now. So heading in.
That's a good name.
That is a very good name as we're heading towards turn number 14 here in Sochi. Not quite close enough to make a move this time round, but CJ has locked up. And is he going to try and do the same thing again? Yeah, Chiapelli picking up a penalty. Is he going to try and do the same thing again? No, again, not close enough. He's going to have to wait till the main straight.
Locking up as well, I have to add, Owen. As Chris Johnson picked up a penalty further back. So at the moment, Mr. John's P2.
Yeah,
remember that, folks.
Yeah, Mr. John net P2, I think, at the moment. But yeah, Dom very close to the back of the CJ. Close as he's been for a while coming onto the main straight. What is he going to do, Mike?
I'd love to know, and I hope he's going to send one up the inside, because this is the sort of action that we love here in TGP2. CJ's having to go defensive. I imagine he's got everything turned up to about 80 at the moment, and it's trying to hold off Dom Smith. And even with this damaged front wing, Chiapelli is keeping tabs with the top 2.
Yeah, definitely is indeed. Chiapelli just hanging on. Mr. John's dropped off a bit now, so it looks like it's going to be a battle between 3 drivers, but still an excellent race in Sochi. We've got about 2.5 laps to go, and it's a battle between Renault and the 2 Saubers.
Well, we said that last time out was perfect for Renault. This is going a little bit better for Sauber, if both of them didn't have penalties, which they do, unfortunately for them. But you have to say that they are definitely quicker than the Renault driver, and they're going to have to try something soon to overhaul him, because CJ is managing this perfectly.
Yeah, doing a very good job, making sure he gets the exits right. Been locking up, like you said, a lot under braking as they head onto the John Barrowman Straight once again. Been locking up under braking a fair bit, but he's still been able to keep the move done. Is Dom going to have a sniff? No, he isn't. No lock up this time from CJ though.
CJ's got a very good offensive. As I thought Chiapelli was just sent one up the inside of Dom then. Oh, and that would have been just the pinnacle of this race. Dom's focusing all the time on these exits, and Chiapelli's just trying to get his nose where he doesn't want it. And look at that in the background, Con Rees.
Yeah.
Con Rees could find himself on the podium.
Yeah, we thought he was dead and buried when he made that call under the safety car for not pitting, but actually he's not dead and buried at all. He's going to have the quicker tyres than all the guys in front of him, and because it's Russia, the tyre wear isn't anywhere near as bad, so he can go for it. Is CJ letting is Dom letting Chiapelli pass this time? He's made him wide, and no,
definitely
he wasn't.
Not. They're fighting hammer and tong, and this is allowing CJ to pull out a bit of a lead, and they're going to want to stop doing this in a minute because it's costing them massively as Chiapelli throws it up the inside of Dom, and Dom holds on, and Manisha Kautabon, she's not even in charge anymore, but she's watching through her fingers as Dom Smith holds on to the lead.
Fred Vasseur is who you're referring to now. And
Fred Vasseur, what a man.
Con Rees has passed Mr. John, and now look at him. He's already all over the back of the Saubers. He is going to be on P2 on pure performance at this rate. He's going to have such a good exit out of this corner, and he'll be able to do something on the John Barrowman Straight.
And Chiapelli's lost a chunk of his front wing now. I don't know if that's how it was before, but Con Rees has got a fantastic exit out there, and Lucas is not liking this at all. But I think Con Rees does actually have a penalty from memory, but he's trying to make Chiapelli work for it as he goes down the inside, and Chiapelli just about pulls that one off. A great move from him. Con Rees going to try and hold around the outside, but Chiapelli holds on for the moment as they head into the last couple of corners on the penultimate lap. I don't want this race to end, although my voice does, because this is getting so tense and close. And we've even got Danscar who's joined in this fight. Oh, gosh.
And Danscar is on the hyper soft tyres.
And I think The only people in the top 6 who don't have a penalty is CJ and Mr. John.
Yeah, the only two who don't have a penalty, but it's getting tense in this race. It's a 6-car train now for the leaders. We're on the final lap of this race. It's been such an exciting race round the Olympic Park.
Oh, and Conri's just hit Chiapelli. They both run wide. Disaster.
Yeah.
Is there damage?
I
can't see any to
tell.
Conri's.
I think Conri's has got away with that one. He's a very lucky boy there for hitting the back of Chiapelli with no front wing damage.
So he's picked up another penalty, but Dom Smith, I think, might have backed off to let his teammate through because they just got very close from nowhere.
Yeah, they have indeed. Or has Dom made a mistake? It could be one of those things. Dom is prone to mistakes every now and then.
And I tell you what, talk of close, look at Dan's car on Mr. John.
Oh, we don't know where to look in this race.
I know that Conri's is going to be sick because of the penalties, but I don't know who's going to finish anywhere else. I'm pretty sure now that
Dan's got a penalty. Michael Kenny's picked up penalty. Oh, everyone's picking up penalties. Charlie Whiting's having a field day with his penalties today. He's loving handing out penalties left, right, and centre like a referee in the World Cup final.
From Chiapelli.
Oh.
What's Conri's going to try around the outside, and he's got it done. What a move, and he's going to try around the outside of the other Sauber, and he runs wide, and there's nearly contact between him and Chiapelli, and there's 3 cars that are going to be almost side by side going into the last couple of corners. CJ's going to win, but I don't really care. Chiapelli, Dom Smith's got another penalty. Where's Chiapelli? I don't know, and there's contact again. Oh, and they're all off. Somehow, they've got across the line, and Mr. John is second.
Quickly clarify what that top 6 is. Now everyone has crossed the line. It's CJ who's won the race. Mr. John is in second. Chiapelli rounds off the podium. Don Smith is 4th. Connor is 5th, and Dan Scar finishes in 6th.
Oh, Owen, I don't think I can recall a more exciting end to a motor race than that. Not just in TGP2, but in all leagues.
I know,
that was unbelievable.
Yeah, we didn't know where to look. We kept interrupting each other because we all just had different points because we're all looking at different battles. No one knew what was going on, but it was chaos and we loved it.
We loved it. More of that, please. We had 5 different constructors fighting for the lead. It was the top 6 in the end, and Mr. John, hats off to you, sir. Hats off to you, because you're the only one of those battling for P2 that not only didn't have a podium, but who kept his head, didn't lose any parts of his car, and that's driver of the day. That is Mr. John. Well done to you, sir.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to round up the results now, but what a chaotic race. Singapore was decent, but Russia's just blown the roof off the building here in the TGP commentary centre.
They're lining up now for the podium. I can't barely remember who's on the podium, so this is actually quite useful to see this. CJ wins. We'd almost forgotten about him in the end. A solid performance from him again, who extends his championship lead now to 33 points. So we've got a race victory advantage over Chiapelli now. Mr. John with a fantastic 2nd place. And it's Chiapelli, as we said, rounding out the top 3 as they pose with their trophies. And I'm pretty sure they're relieved to have made it to the end.
Yeah, I think I'm relieved to get to the end of that race without having a hernia. It was that exciting. So take us through the results.
Let's give you a rundown then of the final result. So CJ, well, a fantastic win that is for him. Mr. John coming home 2nd from 9th on the grid. Chiapelli in 3rd. Dom Smith in 4th. Had a poor qualifying, but he made it count in the race. Conri's from pole in 5th. Dan's car 6th. Erlang, it all went wrong for him after the first lap. In 7th, Joe Sayer 8th, Bazza P9, Michael Kenny rounding out the top 10, Marco P11, and Kim coming home with the last point. Well, Owen, I'd like to be able to recap tonight somehow. The first thing I want to start off with is just how good CJ was tonight, actually.
Yeah, CJ, double victory tonight, extending his championship lead massively tonight, and surely it's too early to say he's definitely got the title in the bag, but I'd say he's got 2 fingers on the trophy now at this point.
He's made a very big step for sure, and it's to see him drive the way he did in those 2 races. It's just it was something else. It was just he looked so in control, and you could see he was he was saving power, he was saving fuel, and would lose a bit of time, but then instantly would just turn it up, not by much, just a little bit, and it just pulled clear again. And he knew exactly what he was doing. I'm sure at times it didn't feel like it, but for us watching, it looked like he knew what he was doing, and it was a joy to behold.
Yeah, definitely a joy to behold indeed. He controlled both races, really. All he had to do, really, was just make sure he stayed out of all the chaos that was happening behind him, especially in Russia. That chaotic ending for the rest of the podium, but he just controlled it and made sure he got the victory.
Well, that does conclude our night of TGP2 action. Hopefully that should keep you going for another week. It will definitely keep us going. We might have just recovered by the time we get to us next week. I'm not sure if Owen will be joining me in the commentary box next week, but it was a pleasure to have you here for sure. And this has been a TGP series production, sponsored by BetNoon.com. I've been Mike Noon, he's been Owen Quimby, and we'll see you on PS4.
See you on PS4.